What's up, guys? I just got this 2013 Audi RS5. I wasn't even gonna do a review on this thing, but I just decided, you know what? I feel like this is such a sleeper car that I have to do a review on it. And let's start off with some quick specs. You heard the sound, like, just listen to the way this thing sounds on the downshift. It just sounds nuts. It sounds so smooth. This V8 that revs out to, I think it's right around 8,300 RPM. It sounds amazing. And the next thing I want to talk about is it's a 4.2 liter V8 with the double clutch transmission, and it makes 450 horsepower to the crank. So this is the same engine, according to my research, as the Audi R8 V8, but it is tuned to make a little bit more power, because the Audi R8 makes 420 horsepower, this makes 450. I really wasn't even gonna buy this car. It just kind of came up to me at my buddy's dealership. He was taking it in on trade, and the more research I kind of did about the car and the more videos that I watched, similar to like the ones that I'm making right now, the sound of it, the character of the car, they just don't make naturally aspirated high revving V8s with double clutch trans anymore. It's just a thing of the past. And you know, one of the last naturally aspirated cars that was amazing was like the E92 M3, for example, the high revving V8 going under a tunnel here. And that is a factory exhaust. This car does not have an exhaust on it. This is a factory exhaust. And it has different driving modes. You have comfort, you have auto, you have dynamic, and then you have individual. So you could set the individual however you'd like to set it. So you can have the transmission be more aggressive. You could have it not be more aggressive. You could have it be more tame in comfort mode, where the steering is soft, the suspension feels a little bit softer. I have it in dynamic right now, so you have the nice exhaust tone, you have the engine that's in sport mode, and the car overall is just an amazing car. And this has a titanium package, so it also has the Bang & Olufsen sound system that has the subwoofer up here on the dash, and I believe also in the back, and also has the Bang & Olufsen tweeters in the front windows and the side doors on top, so it's pretty sweet. The sound bounces off the window, you can hear it, it's super crisp. And it has the Alcantara bucket seats, which I actually really wanted, which was crazy because I've only seen them in actually leather seats. So these Alcantara buckets also are heated too, which is pretty awesome. But they just give it that true sports car feel. The Alcantara really does it. Like, it kind of reminds me of like a Porsche interior a little bit when they do a lot of the Alcantara seats, or excuse me, the Alcantara on the side of the pillar, on some of the dashboard pieces. So it really gives it that awesome, and also the center of the seat actually Porsche does, like on the GT3 bucket seats, and also their comfort seats as well. So in comparison, it kind of gives it that really high quality feel. It takes it to another level, which I don't think the leather seats can actually do. Another thing about the car that's super amazing is that right around 7,000 RPM or 7,200 RPM, I feel like there's like either a diaphragm, something with the intakes, or something with the car itself, where the engine just opens up into another realm, and it just gets into this different tone that it's really hard to capture on video, but like, let's see. Like, it just screams to another level. And that's what really made me want to buy the car. When my buddy got it in on trade, I wasn't even sure if I wanted to buy it. And I saw how clean it was. It was a 2-owner car. The guy that owned it before me was a 75-year-old man that had the car for 5 years and babied it. And he babied it. There's not even a single scratch on this carbon center here. I love the 2 cup holders here, actually. My previous car did not have cup holders, so having cup holders feels nice. I never knew what it even felt like to have cup holders. My previous car was a Bentley Super Sport in factory quartzite gray. Missed that car a little bit, but this car, the naturally aspirated Screaming V8, just has it hits you different. It's a true, you know, kind of enthusiast feeling car, where it has character to the car. It doesn't just, you know, like the new RS5s and some of these new cars where they're naturally aspirated V6s, they don't give you that emotion that a car like this will give you. It's not the fastest car. You know, they're saying 0 to 16 like 3.7, 3.8. some places I've seen 3.5. I haven't tested it myself, but the launch control is amazing on this thing. The carbon on the doors is amazing. The Alcantara on the side of the door is amazing. Obviously in the back seat too. The front seats all over, like I mentioned earlier. The carbon center, the carbon little pieces on. There's a little piece here on the dash down here. So the steering wheel is amazing with the flat bottom. It really gives it that true kind of like crazy, like it feels like you're in an R8, like a newer R8 or something inside. It is a 2013, so you know the infotainment's still very up to date. It's crisp, it's clean, but you know it's not like the newer cars, which is fine. There's a little compromise there. But when you put this thing, you know, I'll put it into comfort mode now, going through this little drive through the city a little bit. But in comfort mode, this thing just cruises. The steering wheel's soft. Like, you can't even hear the exhaust, barely. You hear a little V8 rumble, but that's it. The transmission goes into this very smooth, coasting feeling. Like right now, I'm not even on the gas and just kind of cruising down this hill. And it's just smooth. Like, you could totally daily this car. You could totally take it into some canyons and hear that amazing V8 scream at high RPMs, and then you can drive it to work the next day. Or you could take it for a date night. It's like a very versatile car. And it's all-wheel drive, so if you got stuck in a bad weather scenario, you could use it for that purpose too. It is a bit lower of a car from the factory. It does have low-profile tires on it. They're 20-inch wheels from the factory, which we'll get to later when I do a walk-around video of the car. But overall, this car, the way it sounds, the way it behaves, the way it drives, it is very, very much a sleeper. And what I mean by sleeper, I don't mean by in a fast sense. I mean in a car that's overlooked when somebody wants to buy a car that's an enthusiast type of car, where they want to have a good, enjoyable driving feeling. And when people think of a driving feeling like that, they think of usually C63 AMGs, M3s, M4s, you know, maybe even a C43 AMG. That's something comparable, a little less on the money in terms of cost wise. But this car right here for used, I got this car for $40,000 even. I think out the door with a little bit of like dog fees and etc. is around $40,500 give or take. And it has 34,918 miles on it. And it's a clean car. And for 40 grand, it just does not seem like this car is worth 40 grand even today, even in a used market. It feels like a $55,000 car that I just bought. And I gave my buddy a ride in it earlier today, and he was shocked. He could not believe like the way the car handled and the way that it came to life when you would have it in the sport mode and the rev matching in the city when you're just cruising down shifts in the canyons, wherever on mountain roads like we have here in Portland, Oregon. So to me, and also what I love too, to me also is it makes you feel more connected. My radar's going off there. It makes you feel more connected to the car because of the analog cluster. You know, some of these newer cars that have the digital displays, they're not as tame. I mean, excuse me, they're not as they're not as connected that you feel to the car. They kind of feel more tame is what I was trying to get at. Where they have this, like, I gotta hit all these buttons to figure out how to turn traction off, or how to go into this sport mode, or how to go into fully manual, or stability off, etc. It's like there's too many things going on. And then you have, you know, display here with navigation. Then you have like the newer RS5, for example, is like that. And some of these new cars, even the new Mercedes, where it's all digital, which is fine because you have a comfort car, you want the comfort, I get it. But like the AMG GTR, for example, is a great example that my buddy has. And everything's still analog in the car. There's a little display here similar to this car, but everything is analog. The clusters are still analog. You still have your little digital display readout in the middle that tells you like miles per hour, miles per gallon, digital display if you want to see that. But you still have the original analog speedo and the RPM gauge, which I think makes the car still so connected. It makes it still so exciting. It gives it a different feel. And they just don't make cars like this anymore, which is unfortunate because the naturally aspirated vehicles, in my opinion, are just going to hold value or slowly go up in value. And these are just cars that you're just not going to see ever again being made. And you know, it's kind of like I talked to my buddy about it. It's kind of like the 458 Italia, the all-motor naturally aspirated V8 that just screamed. And I don't know, it's just disappointing to see those cars now going into twin turbo V8s that have no sound to them, no character. The power comes on quick. You can't get traction until fourth gear. So really, like, you can't really enjoy the car what it's meant to do. That's why Porsche has done such a good job with like the GT3, for example. You have usable power. It's low torque, high horsepower, high RPM where it's making that horsepower. So you really can enjoy that car and really enjoy it in all RPM ranges, as opposed to cars that are turboed, that power comes on quick, the ass end gets squirrely real fast. You can't enjoy the power like you would, you know, in a car like, you know, like a GT3 or like this, or all motor like a 458, or, you know, any of these naturally aspirated cars that are lower in the horsepower range, but the driving experience is totally different because that's that emotion to it, to the drive with the sound. Because sound plays a big key. I don't care what anybody says about back in sport motor dynamic mode now, but sound plays a big key to the car, like the enjoying of the driving experience. Like, you just don't get this type of sound in a car anymore. Like, that's just crazy. It's amazing. I had the window down for that one. So some downsides to the car, I guess, which I'm trying to think of. I've owned it for a week exactly today. The all-wheel drive system is a little rough at low speeds, and when I mean low speeds, like 2 or 3 miles an hour in a parking lot. And rough meaning you can kind of feel a little bit of drag on the front wheels if you decide to turn the wheel all the way sharply, which is totally fine because it's expected. It's all-wheel drive. It's a little aggressive of a transmission, but it's also all-wheel drive. So, you know, when you're turning a wheel all the way sharply, in a parking lot, for example, the front wheels are still trying to turn, or excuse me, still trying to go forward in terms of there's still power going to the front wheels. So you have this weird, like, kind of hesitation, drag kind of feeling. You can sometimes feel that inside tire, depending on which way you're turning, kind of rotating, like slipping. Like kind of like if you're in a car that's rear-wheel drive with the welded diff or a two-way differential that's super aggressive, you can feel that inside tire wanting to turn. Like you could hear it like spinning essentially. You will only understand if you've driven a car with the limited slip differential or like a welded differential in the rear end. It feels like that in the front at very low speeds, but which makes sense because I didn't do research on this aspect, but I know where I feel like the front axle is a limited slip. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm not sure how it operates with all-wheel drive cars, like, you know, when you have your electronic rear diff, or sometimes you have power to both wheels, sometimes you have one, you know it's not a true limited slip. So I think it's a true limited slip based on that behavior in like the parking lots, for example. But I'm sure it changes with different driving modes as well, because I think in comfort mode it doesn't do that at all, or I don't feel it anyways, or I haven't really tested it too much, but I didn't feel it in comfort mode. But dynamic, that's just what you get. You're just prepared for that more aggressive feeling, the more aggressive transmission, which is not a downside to the car, but it's just something you have to get used to. So this is the outside of the car. I love the daytime running lights. The daytime running lights are sick. The way they're set up right there, like the way they go around, it makes it look a lot newer than it is. You can see here the Alcantara bucket seats, just, and then the carbon on the door I was talking about, the carbon in the center console, the nice piano black around the radio. It also has an active rear wing, which is super cool. And shout out to my buddy for selling me the car, but the active rear wing is pretty sweet. The button is actually right there. So you hit it, the rear wing is up, which is pretty sweet. In the RS5, you could really differentiate the RS5 because it has the huge oval exhaust tips. It has the crazy wheels with the Brembo brakes. Or I believe they're Brembo. I don't want to say Brembo. Nope, just the RS factory Audi. I don't know why I said Brembo. The front end looks crazy mean with the honeycomb grille, the wider fenders, the wider hips on the car. It really gives it that different, it really gives it like that stance of a, you know, it's not a regular, this is just the S5. And then the steering wheel is amazing. Whoever had this car before took amazing care of it. But anyways, that's a little walk around and check out of the car. And the amazing sunroof as well. It only tilts though, it doesn't pop. So I guess that could be the one downside that I face. It'd be cool to pop it all the way open, but it just tilts. But it's fine. So overall, all in all, this car is amazing. Like, it truly is amazing. And I used to have an F30 335i with basic bolt-ons and a tune on E85. And to be honest, driving experience-wise, that was one of my favorite cars, full M Sport package, etc. But this car right now, it takes the throne for me in terms of driving experience. I mean, I'll be doing a review on the GT2 here soon, and 997 GT2, and that should be here soon later on in the month of March. It's February right now, almost over. And that should be an amazing review, different, you know, 997 GT2, turbo car, 6-speed manual, very raw of a car. Truly takes a true driver for that thing. So that should be a totally different animal, totally different beast. But this thing, overall, if you have $40,000 to spend on a car and you want something that sounds sick, that looks great, this is the car, in my opinion. Right now, in my eyes. I still think an M3 E92 is also one of those cars. You know, this isn't the only one, but I feel like this is a one that gets looked over. That's why I called it a sleeper. Nobody thinks of an RS5 when they're thinking of a car for 40, 45 grand. That's a two-door coupe that they want, that revs, high RPM, that drives good. And I think personally, this all-wheel drive system actually gives it a little notch above an M3 just because it's power that you can actually use at lower speeds, like, you know, high revving first gear or second gear, going out of corners or coming into corners even. You have this confidence in the car where you know that it's still going to stick, and there's this confidence in the car in the road where it still feels amazing. Another aspect is, I love the M3 though. See, you want to get the ass end out, you want to have fun. It's different purposes, right? I can't say one is better than the other. It depends on personal preference. That's why a lot of times when people review and do things like that, oh, this car's better than that, I just think this is an amazing car. It's comparable if you're looking for an M3, or you're looking for a 335i, or you're looking for something along those lines. I think it's comparable for sure. It's just something that people don't look at. We'll do a nice takeoff here at this red light, see how it sounds. Sounds pretty amazing. See, like, even at this red light, like, this dude just broke his neck while he was turning because he was taking a look at the car. And, you know, it's just crazy. Like, the car breaks necks more than I thought it would, actually. I thought it was going to be more of a, not so much. Let's see, let's launch it here. This launch control is nasty. Oh, I didn't activate. But still launches great on a torque brake launch is still amazing. Let's try to get launch control here quick. I didn't have traction control off, actually. That's why I didn't trigger launch control. I thought I pushed it. All right, here we got another red light here. We could possibly get a nice launch control in, go through a first and second gear. Launch control is set factory. I don't know if you can change it anywhere, maybe with the tune, but set, I think, around like 5,800 RPM. Let's see. Do a little launch here. Make sure there's no cops around. Yeah, 5,800. There it is. And just rips, and you're at 60. Like, oh my goodness, it's crazy. Like, I'm slapping the paddle like it's gonna do anything fun, but I mean, do anything to the car, but just kind of a cool experience, I guess. But see, you get that, you get the launch, the crazy launch, the sound, the good handling. So it's all around, it's an amazing car. So if you ever thought about getting an RS5, you weren't sure, it's amazing. I mean, I put about 400 miles on this car in a week, 500 in a week, and I've been driving it hard. I drive my cars hard. I drive them hard, but I take care of them well. So this is a great car. Nothing I can say about this car right now in this moment in time and owning it for 7 days and driving it every day in the rain, in nice weather, there's nothing I can say right now about this car where I can be like, I don't know, I wish I wouldn't have bought it. Not a single thing. The sound system is amazing too. It's just, it's a great car. So if you're thinking about buying an RS5, you should not worry about a single thing when you're thinking about buying an RS5. For 40 to 45 grand, you can get a low mileage RS5 like mine with 35, 32, 31,000 miles like I've seen online, depending on the color and the package, if it's got the leather, the Alcantara, or the titanium package or not. I know there's other packages too, but great cars. And I'm glad I bought this. It was a great purchase and I'm having a lot of fun with it. And it's something that I cannot wait to get in and drive. And I think that's what a car should make you feel. You can't wait to get in and drive it. It doesn't matter what it is, Mercedes, BMW, it doesn't matter what car you go with. If you can't wait to get in it and drive, if you can't wait to get in it and drive, you don't feel that feeling, then you got the wrong car. And that's why it's important to, sometimes, like for me, I was watching a review where they reviewed the new RS5 versus this one. And once I heard this exhaust and the downshifts, the pops, the bangs, the high revving V8, I was like, I want that one. I was like, I want that RS5. So when my buddy got it in on trade, I watched some reviews that night. The next day I called him and was like, I want this car. I don't know how long I'm gonna own it for, who knows, but right now I love it. So I'll probably do another review on it, maybe do another one, 6 months of ownership. But anyways, thanks for watching if you made it this far, and enjoy the video.